These are the names that we saw last week when we were studying the previous chapter of Ezra. And in case anybody's hearing or seeing this type of studies for the first time, we see through scriptures that names have a lot of importance, and obviously they have a meaning. So every time that scripture gives us a list of names, is also given us a revelation through those names. So by translating the names themselves, we then read them and are able to get a deeper interpretation of the chapter or revelation, a prophetical revelation. So in this case, chapter 9 begins with the name Israel, then goes to Levi, then Canaan or Canaanite, then Hittite, and all the rest. In fact, these are the nations of the land of Israel that Yahweh gave us. So this is interesting because these names are mentioned a lot throughout scriptures, sometimes, or several times all together. So in a way, we can say that there is a message in these names themselves. So we'll go from the first one. Israel has different or several meanings. One is the mighty one prevails. Another one, he who contends with the mighty one. Another one, he who will rule as the mighty one. So I normally focus on these two, for this is obvious, right? The mighty one prevails. That is pretty clear. So I focus on the fact that Yahweh would send a person to the earth to contend with the mighty one of this world. That's why he would be hated and killed, and to rule after being killed and then resurrected as the mighty one on the earth. So he who contends with the mighty one of this world will rule like the mighty one once he is joined to the crown. That would mean when he resurrects and becomes King of Kings, also when he resurrects, becoming one with the first. For Yahweh said, I am the first and the last. And Zechariah and Ezekiel 37, Zechariah 14 tells us about the first and the last becoming one, and that will be after the resurrection, which is when he will contend with the mighty one of this world, as we see in Revelation 12, that the Son of Man that is born from the Virgin, in Revelation 12, I repeat, from the congregation, he would be given a rod of iron to rule the nations, and then he goes on as Michael, as it is written, and fights the dragon and takes him out of heaven, throws him into the earth. So that is this moment when he contends with the mighty one, which was exemplified by the time when Jacob fought Elohim in Genesis 32 and won. And through that, he received the name Israel. That's why he was given that name Israel when he contended with the mighty one. So that's why it represents the lads who would come and contend with the mighty one of this world. Just like Yahushua is the first, and he was represented by Yitzhak, Israel's father, who was willing to be sacrificed by his father. He who will rule as the mighty one contends with the mighty one of this world, as he is joined to the crown. First and last become one, and we could say he who is the zeal of Yahweh. As we know, Yahweh himself says, I am a jealous mighty one, and my name is jealous. Regarding his zeal for the truth, for righteousness, or just what is correct. So in the sense of the last, we know that he comes with the zeal. In fact, well, I'll read a couple verses just to understand why zeal is key when it comes to prophecy, specifically from prophets. Yoel 2:18 says, then Yahweh will be zealous for his land and pity his people. In Isaiah 37:32, for out of Jerusalem shall go a remnant. For out of Jerusalem shall go a remnant. Those are the chosen few who will be gathered on Mount Zion, as written on Revelation 14. And those who escaped from Mount Zion, those who escaped, the chosen few. Then it says, the zeal of Yahweh of hosts will do this. The zeal of Yahweh of hosts will do this. What? Help the chosen few to escape, the remnant. So the zeal of Yahweh will do this. Isaiah 42:13 says, Yahweh shall go forth like a mighty man, a Givor. He shall stir up his zeal like a man of war. When Yahushua came, he came to bring mercy. So he didn't come as a warrior. He came to leave a sword so that the last could come and hold it to make war. But that war is spiritual. That's why he comes on a white horse. The one who makes physical war comes on a red horse. So Isaiah 42:13, then Yahweh shall go forth like a Gibor, as a warrior, mighty man. He shall stir up his zeal like a man of war. He shall cry out, yes, shout aloud. He shall prevail against his enemies. Also, Isaiah 9:7 says, of the increase of his government and shalom, there will be no end. It is referring to the last, although many interpret this as the first, but I explained that in the chapter of Isaiah 9. There will be no end upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment and justice from that time forward. Each will perform this. In Isaiah 59:17 says, for he put on righteousness as a breastplate and a helmet of salvation on his head. He put on the garments of vengeance for clothing and was clad with zeal as a cloak. So the Lamb comes with zeal for the name, for the truth, meaning Yahweh Father, for his name. And that's why he comes to bring vengeance and all of that we just read from Isaiah 63:15. Look down from heaven and see from your habitation, esteemed and exalted, where are your zeal and your strength? Where are your zeal and your strength? As in the last and the first. For we know that we can do all things through Mashiach who strengthens us. Therefore, Mashiach is his strength. The last is his zeal. That's why he comes to bring judgment. With that said, the zeal refers to the last, so confirms what we were saying. He who contends with the mighty one will rule like the mighty one. Once he is joined to the crown, first and last become one. For he is the zeal who brings terror and fear. We could say that terror to those of the world because of the plagues that the last comes to prophesy, which are the zeals and the trumpets, pretty much. Even the last plagues, but the chosen few, and he himself won't be on earth for that time. So that's why I didn't mention it first. But he will bring terror, but also through the true teaching, he will give the fear of Yahweh to the chosen. He will teach the fear of Yahweh so that they receive wisdom, because the beginning of wisdom is the fear of Yahweh. We could say, just in case this descendant is because it is referring to a Hittite, but those are the sons of Het. So we focus normally on the original name or the root. Therefore, it will be just terror, fear. The zeal will teach. If we see it like this with the youth, my terror or my fear. He will give terror to the wicked and the fear of Yahweh to the righteous. I'll just explain a little bit of what these names would represent. Belonging to a village. Once again, the belonging has to do with the youth right here. We could say he who inhabits a village, or the village itself, as in the earth, or those who inhabit the earth. Descendant, once again, descendant has to do with the fact that he says site, but Yebuz right here means threshing place, threshing floor, as you see there. Then Ammon means of my people, which is the name given to one of the children that Lot had with his two daughters. Then Moab, which is the other one, means of his father. That's why he had that name, because it was a son that one of Lot's daughter had with her father. Egypt represents this world. Spiritually would mean land of affliction. Physically, it means, or literally, it means the land of two borders, two limits, and therefore also represents the earth, for this is the reality that has a beginning and an end. And then a sayer, because it comes from Amar, which means he said. So that is one who speaks, pretty much. With that said, I think we have most of the ones that may be confusing. So he who contends with the mighty one of this world will rule like the mighty one. Once he is joined to the first, therefore receives the crown for being the zeal of Yahweh. Or as the zeal of Yahweh, he would bring terror and fear to those who live on the earth. And he will thresh the place, or he will enter the threshing floor, for that refers to the harvest, which happens in Revelation 14 when he gets the wheat and then the grapes, the few and the many. And then comes Ammon and Moab, which in the positive sense, since remember that Mashiach said that the coming of the Son of Man would be like the days of Lot. Lot had two sons, Moab and Ammon, right after going away from Sodom and Gomorrah. So in the positive sense, that refers to how Yahweh, who came as a son first, then comes as a father. And he will gather the chosen few as his children. But those chosen few are the bride who will marry Mashiach during the wedding of the Lamb. So Mashiach first and last as father and son, or son and father respectively. That's why, I repeat, in the positive sense, Lot as the father has children through his daughters, who represent the few and the many, two congregations of people, for congregations are represented by females. So of the father would represent the few, of his people would represent the many. So that would confirm that this is referring to the harvest. And look how the names of the promised land refer to the zeal of Yahweh, bringing fear and terror to the earth to bring the harvest of his people and his children, who are in a land of affliction, which will come to an end, as he said. So just that I just mentioned is what we get from the meaning of the people who were in the land, the promised land. So that was the promised land. And through the meanings of the names, we have a prophecy of the harvest when Yahweh will take his people to his promised life, eternal. So now taking the whole chapter, he who contends with the mighty one of this world will rule like the mighty one of the world once he joins Mashiach the first, and therefore the crown. For he is the zeal who brings terror to the wicked and fear to the chosen, those who belong or those who are in the earth, like a village. When the harvest comes, he will get the people and the children of his father from the land of affliction during the tribulation, pretty much when it's getting to the second limit, the end. As he said, we could also say, take from the land of affliction of the accuser. Interestingly enough, when the accuser, the dragon, is thrown out of heaven and thrown into the earth, we read how it says, woe to those who are in the earth and the sea, and blessed are those who are in the heavens, those who inhabit the heavens. The chosen few would be in the heavens, but those who are in the earth and the sea will be destroyed by the abomination of desolation that will be formed once Satan falls to the earth. So the land of affliction of the accuser, he who says to Yahweh the sins of people, with whom Israel contends. If we take this sayer as the accuser, but if we take this sayer or this saying as he said, who? He who contends with the mighty one of this world, who will rule as the mighty one, who is made pure and splendid, and who will praise Yahweh through the teaching of Shalom, and will rule like the mighty one. Also remember that this Persia, pure and splendid, represents the chosen few, just like the Medes represent the many. So in this case, we could also say, because of that interpretation, he will come for his people and the children of his father to take them from the land of affliction, as he said, the land of affliction of the accuser, with whom he contends, for the set apart ones, the pure and splendid, the chosen few who praise Yahweh the right way, because it is through the name of Yahweh that we shall be saved, as it is written several times in scriptures. Teaching Shalom. They praise Yahweh and teach Shalom to the nations, to the world. Two key elements. The first key, the key of death, and the key of Sheol. The teaching of Shalom, the testimony of Mashiach, the good news. The praise of Yahweh, the confession of the name of his son, who will rule like the mighty one. And I will leave it there, because if not, I'll continue giving other interpretation. But short and to the point, Noah says here, so it's like when Abraham sent his servant to bring a bride for his son Isaac. Exactly. In fact, well, remember that Abraham told Eliezer not to even think to bring his son Yitzhak to get the woman. He had to go himself, Eliezer. That refers to how during the second manifestation, when a servant of Yahweh is coming to get the woman of Mashiach, Mashiach remains in heaven at the right hand of the Father. That's why Yitzhak could not go with Eliezer. Also, Eliezer, I always mention how he represents Eliyahu because of his name and other reasons. And in the Midrash and, well, several Jewish writings, we read that even in the Torah, there's certain things that we see in the Hebrew that point to the fact that when Eliezer went to get Rivka as a wife for Yitzhak, the malach of Yahweh joined him. So it was Eleazar and Mikael, Yahweh's malach. So Mikael as the witness like Moshe, and Eleazar as Eliyahu. Mikael as the representation of Yahweh on earth, and Eleazar as his help. Eleazar is my mighty one, is help, or the help of the mighty one. So that shows that the father will have to come with a helper, Eliyahu in this case, to get the wife, the congregation, Rivka. So hope that's clear.